What is up, guys, and welcome to episode number 53. And now there is only 3 episodes left to this season 4 career mode, and look at that, Manchester City in the semi-finals of the Champions League. Oh, I really can't get enough of playing Manchester City. We'll play them twice in the Champions League, once in the FA Cup as well. I think twice in the FA Cup, or it's twice in the Carabao. No, we played him in the final of the Carabao, we played him in the semi-finals of the Champions League twice, then we played him in the FA Cup twice, we've played him in the league twice, so we've played him about 7 times. That's absolutely ridiculous for one team, and I thought I hated playing West Brom 3 times. Manchester City, so much worse. But hey ho, we'll see how we can get on against them in the Champions League. Hopefully it's much better than it actually has been during the Carabao Cup final, and we did beat them in the FA Cup 1-0, so I'll have to see how that goes. But coming up against Aston Villa as the first league game for today, going up 1-0, nice and very early on, and 2-0 up very early on, 8 minutes in, and it's number 2 for Benjamin Bowden. He's a quality striker. He's putting Ipswich Town very closely, and I am actually recording this at the time that Ipswich Town have actually clinched promotion into the Championship from League 1. Well done, the boys there. Done a phenomenal job. There's only 1 point against Plymouth now, so hopefully we can clinch that title. 1 point. We've only got to hopefully that Plymouth do end up losing or drawing, and we'll just win our last game. But yeah, get back into the episode. Oh my god, Maitland-Niles almost snuck it in at the far post in the top right left hand corner. I say top right, no, it definitely is the top left hand corner. But Aston Villa, Jack Grealish gets played in very nicely, and he's got loads of space to run into, and Keller gets beaten at the net. Well, just gets generally beaten by Jack Grealish. I think Aston Villa's team in this career mode is absolutely phenomenal. The players they've got, I can only imagine their team, if I took control of them, I think we'd instantly win the Champions League with them, from what I imagine. Oh my god, was that Ferguson going for a long shot? It was either Ferguson or Brownhill goes for a long shot and just hits the bar. That would have been spectacular. But now Bowden, is he going to get his brace? Yes, he does get his brace. I think this is brace or hat-trick. I can't remember which one exactly he's on. Kind of missed the first goal properly, just to see who actually scored that one. But obviously you'll know who scored the first goal. I suppose we'll know who scored the first goal when it comes in to... Yep, that Bowden did score his hat-trick. And there we have that bit of confirmation yet again that we'll be facing Manchester City in the semi-finals of the Champions League, and Olympique Marseille are facing Manchester United. And yeah, Lucas went to Olympique Marseille, so it could be battle of Benjamin Bowden versus Jacob Lucas, the guy that couldn't break into the starting lineup for us. He just had to settle as a rotation player, and even then he didn't really get in the squad because we still had Mark Harris that came in, and we still had other players that came in as well. I can't remember who we had. I think we even put Ramsey when Lucas was injured. But look at that ball into Benjamin Bowden. He scores a great diving header against Arsenal. But going back to Marseille, they've been doing so well in the Champions League, and I think it's all because we sold them Lucas, which I've checked the Champions League stats, and Lucas has played in pretty much every single campaign game that Marseille have had in the Champions League, and he has scored a fair few as well. Obviously not as much as Benjamin Bowden has, but he's 86 rated now, Lucas is at Marseille. So he would have broke into the squad, but I just could not get used to the player at all. Anything that I went to do with him, I was just struggling with him astronomically. So, he had to go. We got a fair bit of money for him. We've managed to get in Ivan Toney, who's starting in today's semi-final game against Manchester City. He's been doing actually quite well. I think I've preferred playing with Ivan Toney than actual Lucas, which I'm not too sure if it's the age difference or it's the composure or the experience, but Ivan Toney has definitely felt that little bit more well-rounded and overall goodness, but I think if I played with Lucas now, I'd probably regret selling him. So obviously we'll have to see how it goes, and you know, if we do decide to bring him back, or if we decide to move to another club and continue on our legacy being a manager in a different club, and obviously we'll have to see what our choices will be, and I'll obviously decide behind the scenes what I want to do if we end up winning the Champions League and the Premier League this season, which there is a high possibility that we do. Obviously we can still win the treble, it's not out of the realms, but obviously Manchester City trying to put that to bed, and obviously we've managed to save that from Danny Ward. Nice close quarters effort, but obviously here in the 80th minute, or going on into the 85th minute, obviously trying to find that late winner, and now obviously Wolfton has found himself in a high lofty position from that corner. Has obviously stayed up there but managed to go back now. Wes Burns obviously drags it back, he sees Knight and he finds the back of the net, hopefully putting us through into the final of the FA Cup, keeping the treble dream alive. Unfortunately I could not do the quadruple, but hey, I will settle for the treble, and we are through to the finals of the FA Cup. And now it's to the City of Manchester, going to Manchester City. And yeah, Champions League efforts now. Obviously played them in the FA Cup, and we're gonna, I mean, hopefully we should win this one. I mean, we did put out a second best team against them in the FA Cup, and I think they put out a rough good team, well, pretty much a good starter team that, you know, obviously being Manchester City, they've got a real good squad, but obviously so do we nowadays. And obviously Ramsey having a long effort there, trying to have a first goal in the very first few minutes, but obviously we'll have to wait for the first goal to come in the Champions League. And obviously Ramsey plays into Dewsbury Hall, and come on, Dewsbury Hall has got to be finished, and that is very close to the keeper, and all he had to do is put it to the left or put it to the right and he would have been fine, but he puts it dead centre and doesn't manage to get anything out of it. But Benjamin Bowden, obviously he doesn't, but Dolberg with the follow-up shot and manages to secure the 25th minute first goal for Ipswich Town in the Champions League away, and hopefully we can continue this good form throughout the match and obviously into the second leg to get through into the final against either Olympique Marseille or Manchester United. And I really hope, just for story, or just for that sort of purpose really, that we get that Lucas Bowden, you know, that Lucas Bowden story, the guy that couldn't break in versus the guy that could. I know I've obviously mentioned that bit again, but it's just such a, you never see it. I've never, in any of my career modes up until now, sold a player and then played against that player in the Champions League final, and that would be an absolute, I don't know how I'd feel about that. I mean, if he scored against me, I'd be like, okay, well done, I sold you and you've moved on to better things, and you probably needed that move. Where I know you complained about, why am I being sold, boss? It's just like, I know I can do better, I know I can break into the team, but when I got Benjamin Bowden and Kasper Dolberg on the pitch, as well as Ivan Toney and Mark Harris now, it's just like, why do I need him? No. I mean, even if I had Skinner, I mean, I know he would have taken absolutely ages to go into his striker role. He was playing a left winger in a striker, and we obviously had to change it to a left forward to actually facilitate him, but you know, we needed the money for a lot of more, I say a lot more better players. Obviously we did get quite a lot of money for finishing fourth, but look at that, Haaland with the second. Obviously he's trying to keep Manchester City in, and obviously hopefully we're trying to push through, but obviously we can't really stop Haaland that often, but congrats to him doing so well for Manchester City. And you know, if whoever we continued on with Ipswich Town career mode, we'd probably end up trying to sign him, just because he's, you know, Norwegian and they're sort of the players we go to sign for this club. Obviously the Scandinavians and the English and everyone else in between. But Haaland find himself in again. Obviously he's got a man in help. Why did he not sweaty that? Oh, I don't know who that was that was in position to actually put it to bed and put 3-2 Manchester City and actually, you know, keep them ahead of us. But Benjamin Bowden on the counter attack from Haaland's terrible shot on goal, and we counter on that, and Benjamin Bowden goes through and gets Ipswich Town's third goal for the night. And nothing much really happened there on out, but yeah, that's where the league is going to lie. We've got a few games left. I think it's 5 games? Yeah, 5 games left, with 4 points ahead of Manchester City, with as well as Tottenham Hotspur, but as well being a game and hand against Spurs. Let's have a look at the games next. I've got Brighton Hove Albion, Manchester City in the Champions League, Manchester United, and then Newcastle United as well. And look at that, we've got Leeds United in the FA Cup final. What is that all about? But hopefully you enjoyed. I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.